They say time is undefeated. You can fight it, hide from it, even deny it for a while, but eventually it catches up. The mirror becomes less kind. The body moves a little slower, and that spark you once carried in your 20s starts to flicker beneath the fluorescent hum of middle age. There's that moment when you catch your reflection and wonder when your eyes got a little heavier, when laughter lines turned into something more permanent, when energy became something you had to plan for instead of something you naturally woke up with. We all feel it. It's the slow drift of youth, the subtle shift from effortless vitality to deliberate effort. But quietly, in labs and universities across the country, science has been whispering a different story, one that challenges everything we've ever believed about growing old. It turns out aging isn't a one-way street. You can't freeze time, but under the right conditions, you can rewind it, inside your muscles, your brain, your heart. The key isn't locked inside a pill bottle or buried in some expensive cosmetic treatment. It's hidden in something far simpler, far more human: movement. Across the world, from high-tech research centers to quiet suburban garages, scientists and fitness pioneers have been uncovering something extraordinary. They've found 6 specific types of exercise that don't just slow the clock, they can actually reverse it. These movements are rewriting what it means to age, down to the cellular level. Picture this: the same body that's been stiff, tired, and worn down by decades of work and stress suddenly reawakening. Muscles grow stronger, memory sharpens, sleep deepens, mood lifts, and the very DNA inside your cells starts acting like it did when you were years younger. It sounds like science fiction, but it's real, measurable, and happening right now. It begins on a crisp, quiet morning in Boston. The streets are still, the city not yet fully awake. A soft fog rolls off the Charles River, and a lone runner moves through it, her breath visible in the dawn chill. That's Dr. Emily Rhodes, a molecular biologist at Harvard, a woman who spent her entire career studying the mechanisms of aging. For most people, running is a workout. For Emily, it's an experiment. Every stride she takes isn't just about staying fit. It's data. It's proof. Her lab has discovered that just 30 minutes of steady-state cardio, jogging, cycling, or swimming, can significantly increase telomerase activity, the enzyme responsible for maintaining the protective caps on your DNA, strands known as telomeres. These telomeres act like the plastic tips on shoelaces, preventing your chromosomes from unraveling. The shorter they get, the older your cells behave. But when Emily runs, something incredible happens. Those telomeres begin to rebuild. Her body starts repairing itself at a genetic level. We used to think aging was inevitable, she says with a smile, catching her breath as the sunrise spills over the horizon. Now we know it's negotiable. The first exercise on her list, the one she lives by, is aerobic endurance training. It's simple, primal, and deeply powerful. Whether it's running through the morning fog, pedaling a bike down an open country road, or swimming laps until your arms ache, it's all about one thing: raising your heart rate and keeping it there long enough to flood your cells with oxygen. Scientists sometimes call it mitochondrial magic. Inside every muscle cell are tiny powerhouses, mitochondria, that convert oxygen into energy. Over time, as we age and move less, these powerhouses start to shut down, like a city losing lights one by one. But endurance exercise flips the switch back on. It sparks new mitochondrial growth, wakes up dormant energy systems, and literally brings life back to your muscles. In plain English, it wakes you up from the inside out. One groundbreaking study from the Mayo Clinic showed that older adults who started a moderate cycling program for just 12 weeks had muscle gene expressions nearly identical to people 30 years younger. Their cells didn't just perform better, they looked younger under the microscope. Mitochondrial density increased, oxidative stress dropped, and endurance soared. One participant, a 65-year-old accountant who had never worked out before, said at the end of the study, "I didn't just feel stronger. I felt like I'd been given a second wind, like my body remembered something it had forgotten." Beauty of aerobic endurance is that it's democratic. It doesn't care how old you are, where you live, or what equipment you own. It can be as humble as a brisk walk, as freeing as a morning jog, or as disciplined as a swim session. What matters is consistency. Every heartbeat trains your heart to pump more efficiently. Every breath teaches your lungs to exchange oxygen more effectively. Every drop of sweat tells your body to adapt, to rebuild, to stay alive, but that's only the beginning. Because if endurance is the rhythm of youth, then resistance training is its foundation. Somewhere in Austin, Texas, inside a dimly lit neighborhood gym, a retired firefighter named Hank stands over a barbell. He's 67, his beard is silver, his skin weathered, but his eyes still have that quiet fire of a man who's been through both hell and high water. The gym smells like chalk and metal. Country music hums softly from a speaker in the corner. Hank tightens his grip around the bar, the knurling biting slightly into his palms. The camera pans in. The veins on his forearms stand out like rivers of determination, pulsing with life. He exhales, braces, and lifts. Scientists have a name for what Hank is doing: muscle remodeling. It sounds technical, but it's the body's version of renovation. Every rep he performs sends tiny microsignals through his muscles and bones, telling his body to grow, to repair, to stay strong. These signals activate growth hormones, boost collagen production, and awaken dormant stem cells, the kind responsible for tissue regeneration. What most people don't realize is that strength training isn't just about building muscle. It's about rebuilding youth. Dr. Stacy Sims, an exercise physiologist at Stanford, describes it perfectly. When you lift, your muscles release myokines, tiny proteins that communicate with your brain, your heart, and your immune system. They're like biological text messages saying, "I'd stay young, stay resilient." Hank doesn't think in those terms, though. For him, it's simpler. "Every time I pick up that bar," he says between sets, "I feel like I'm picking up a piece of myself I left behind." Science backs him up. Studies show that resistance training increases bone density, reverses insulin resistance, balances hormones, and slows the breakdown of muscle fibers. In one experiment, elderly men and women who began lifting weights twice a week showed gene activation patterns nearly identical to people in their 20s. Their cells began expressing youthful proteins again. Their mitochondria grew denser, stronger, more efficient. Even their balance and cognition improved. When you see Hank pushing that barbell, sweat tracing down his temples, you're not just looking at a man working out. You're looking at biology in reverse, a body rewriting its timeline through sheer will and movement, and that's the real story behind these exercises. They aren't just routines or fitness trends. They're keys, ancient and scientific, to unlocking the body's built-in code for regeneration. Every heartbeat during a run, every lift of a dumbbell, every deep breath after exertion, it's all communication between your cells and your spirit. It's your body saying, "I'm not done yet," because maybe time isn't undefeated after all. Maybe it just needed an opponent who knew how to fight back. Dr. Stacy Sims, an exercise physiologist from Stanford, explains it in a way anyone can understand. When you lift, she says, your body releases myokines, tiny messenger proteins that talk directly to your brain and immune system. They tell your body, "Stay young, stay strong." She smiles when she says it because the data doesn't lie. It's not just a gym myth or motivational quote, it's hard science. Myokines act like little sparks that travel through your bloodstream, lighting up systems that repair tissue, balance hormones, and boost immunity. It's as if every time you lift a weight, your muscles are sending a text message to your DNA, reminding it how to be young again. But not every miracle of youth happens under a barbell or in a weight room, echoing with clanking iron. Sometimes, the magic hides inside the chaos of a heartbeat, inside short bursts of intensity that push the body right to its edge and then pull it back to rest. That's the power of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. Picture this: a golden California morning, the sun spilling across a park where a small group gathers. Men and women of all ages, some in their 20s, others well into their 50s and 60s, stand in a loose circle on the grass. There's no fancy equipment, just a stopwatch, some good music, and the sound of sneakers scuffing against the ground. The coach blows a whistle, and suddenly they're off, sprinting, jumping, pushing, moving like the clock doesn't exist. Then they stop, hands on their knees, lungs burning, laughter cutting through the morning air. To the casual observer, it might just look like another workout class. But at the cellular level, something extraordinary is happening. Their muscles are flooding with oxygen. their hearts pounding like drums of renewal. Deep inside their cells, old and damaged components are being marked for destruction. Scientists call this process autophagy, the body's built-in recycling program. It's nature's way of taking out the trash, breaking down worn-out parts and making room for new, more efficient ones. Research from the University of Copenhagen confirmed what athletes have felt for years. HIIT doesn't just make you fit, it makes you younger. By triggering autophagy, HIIT resets your biological machinery, clearing out the cellular clutter that accumulates with age. Mitochondria, the energy engines of every cell, grow stronger and more numerous. Blood flow improves. Insulin sensitivity rises. Every sprint is a microdose of time reversal. One man in the Copenhagen study, a 58-year-old office worker who hadn't exercised in years, volunteered reluctantly. He said he just wanted to feel less tired. 2 months later, the data floored the research team. His mitochondrial density had increased by 69%. His biomarkers, blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure had all improved dramatically. When scientists ran his biological age through a specialized DNA methylation test, it came back nearly 7 years younger. "It's not just cardio," he said later, still catching his breath between sets.
"It's time travel. That's the beauty of HIIT. It's fast,
Adaptable and brutally efficient. You don't need hours. You just need intention. A few rounds of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off can light up every cell in your body. It's uncomfortable. Yes, but that's where the change happens, in the moments when your lungs are screaming and your mind whispers that you can't. That's when your biology starts negotiating with time. But not every path to youth is found in fire and sweat. Some are born from stillness, from the quiet space between breaths. The fourth exercise that rewinds aging isn't about how fast you can move, it's about how deeply you can slow down. That's where yoga and mindful flexibility training come in. And their power lies not just in movement, but in connection. In a serene studio in Sedona, Arizona, the air smells faintly of sandalwood and sage. Sunlight filters through wide windows, painting gold streaks on polished wood floors. A small group of people, ranging from college students to retirees, move slowly in unison. Their breaths sink like waves, rising and falling. Each motion flows into the next, a stretch, a twist, a surrender. The room is silent except for the soft rhythm of breathing and the quiet hum of life. Reawakening. To an outsider, yoga might look peaceful, even passive. But beneath that calm, the body is orchestrating a symphony of renewal. Research from UCLA reveals that yoga doesn't just improve flexibility, it directly reduces inflammation and suppresses the production of stress hormones, particularly cortisol. And cortisol, scientists say, is one of the fastest ways to age a body from the inside out. Think of cortisol like rust, it corrodes. What makes you vibrant? It breaks down collagen, leading to wrinkles and weaker joints. It messes with your sleep, your focus, your hormones. It's the silent saboteur of youth. But every deep exhale in yoga tells your body, you're safe now. You can rebuild. The nervous system shifts from fight or flight to rest and repair mode. Blood pressure lowers, the immune system resets, and the mind begins to unclench. MRI scans of long-term yoga practitioners show something even more astonishing: larger volumes of gray matter in areas of the brain responsible for memory, focus, and emotional stability. In other words, yoga doesn't just calm your mind, it physically strengthens it. One instructor, her voice soft and steady, whispers to her students at the end of class, "Every breath you take with awareness is a message to your body that it's safe to be young again." And in that room filled with candlelight and calm, you can almost feel it, the body believing her. Then comes the fifth practice, something deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful: balance and coordination training. Most people underestimate it. They think it's just about standing on one foot or walking a straight line. But to neuroscientists, it's one of the purest ways to preserve youth. In Tokyo, Japan, as dawn paints the sky pink and orange, hundreds of elderly citizens gather in a city park. They stand in rows, moving slowly through graceful Tai Chi motions. Their arms sweep like wind, their feet glide like water, their breathing synchronized and calm. The movements are deliberate, almost meditative. And yet, inside their brains, neurons are firing in perfect rhythm. Dr. Kenji Watanabe, who led a groundbreaking study on these morning Tai Chi groups, found that participants who practiced balance-based exercises regularly had 50% fewer falls, sharper reflexes, and significantly lower rates of dementia compared to those who didn't. When you train balance, he explains, you're training your brain. It turns out that the cerebellum, the small region at the back of the brain, responsible for coordination, is deeply connected to cognitive health. As balance improves, so does reaction time, decision-making, and memory retention. It's not just physical control, it's mental longevity. When you train the body to move gracefully, the brain learns to think gracefully, Dr. Watanabe says, smiling as he watches his students move through their slow, elegant dance. Your body listens to your brain. If your brain stays young, your body follows. In that Tokyo park, as the city comes alive around them, these elders aren't just preserving mobility, they're preserving identity. Every steady step, every focused breath, every controlled motion is a quiet act of rebellion against time itself, and maybe that's the thread connecting. All of it, HIIT, yoga, balance, strength. It's not about vanity or performance. It's about remembrance. It's about the body remembering what it was built to do, to move, to adapt, to heal. Science has simply translated that truth into data. But the body? It's known it all along, and then there's the sixth and final exercise, the one that ties it all together, walking. Not the kind of walking you do, rushing through a parking lot or pacing on a treadmill while scrolling through your phone, but the slow, intentional, rhythmical kind that humans were built for, the kind that lets you breathe in air that isn't recycled, lets your mind wander, and lets your body fall into a natural, ancient groove. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but in reality it's the cornerstone of longevity, the quiet hero in a world obsessed with intensity. In a small town outside Naples, Italy, researchers followed a group of elderly villagers who walked several miles, each day through winding cobblestone streets and rolling hillsides that looked like something out of an old postcard. They weren't doing it for fitness goals or step counts. It was simply life. Morning walks to the bakery, midday walks to church, evening strolls to visit neighbors. What the scientists discovered was astonishing. These villagers lived longer than almost anyone else in the region, with some surpassing a century of life in full health. They had lower rates of heart disease, depression, and Alzheimer's, and they radiated an almost childlike joy when they spoke about their daily routines. Their secret wasn't some magic pill, exotic supplement, or high-tech recovery tool. It was rhythm, steady, mindful, almost meditative movement that kept every system in their body alive and talking to each other. When you walk regularly, circulation improves, blood vessels stay elastic, and your lymphatic system, the body's natural detox network, flushes out waste more efficiently. Walking also stimulates the production of endorphins and serotonin, those feel-good brain chemicals that lift mood and sharpen focus. It's nature's free anti-aging drug. One of the villagers, a 92-year-old man named Giovanni, laughed when asked about his secret to immortality. I walk to the bakery, he said, grinning under his straw hat. I walk home with bread. I walk to church. By the time I die, I'll have walked around the world, his doctor confirmed that Giovanni's blood pressure was perfect. His heart was strong and his mind was clear as daylight. No expensive gym membership. No complicated meal plans. Just the timeless rhythm of walking. Science agrees with Giovanni. Studies from Harvard and the University of Leicester both found that consistent walkers, those who move at least 30 minutes daily, have longer telomeres. Telomeres are those protective caps at the ends of DNA strands, kind of like the plastic tips on shoelaces that keep them from fraying. As we age, telomeres shorten, leading to cellular decline and ultimately the aging process itself. But regular walking slows that shortening and, in some cases, even reverses it. The difference between sedentary individuals and daily walkers can amount to as much as 7 biological years. That's 7 years of stronger immunity, sharper memory, and steadier energy, all from something as deceptively simple as putting one foot in front of the other. But the real revelation came when scientists realized that these 6 exercises, aerobic endurance, resistance training, HIIT, yoga, balance work, and walking don't work in isolation. They're like a symphony, each instrument enhancing the others, creating harmony across the body. When practiced together, their effects stack and multiply. Mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, start producing energy more efficiently. Hormones rebalance with cortisol levels dropping and growth hormones increasing. Sleep becomes deeper, muscles recover faster, and inflammation, the silent killer behind countless age-related diseases, starts to fade. It's not just fitness anymore. It's cellular rejuvenation. The body becomes what it was always meant to be, a self-healing, self-renewing organism. At the University of Colorado, a team of researchers conducted a bold experiment. They gathered a group of adults in their late 50s and early 60s, people who hadn't exercised regularly in over a decade. Many were tired, achy, and felt disconnected from their younger selves. Over 12 weeks, the scientists introduced a blended movement program based on these 6 exercises: 3 days of steady-state cardio to rebuild endurance, 2 days of resistance training to stimulate muscle growth, 1 HIIT session to wake up the mitochondria, a Sunday yoga session to restore flexibility and balance, and walking every single day. By the end of those 12 weeks, the results were staggering. Blood pressure dropped, resting heart rates improved, muscle density increased, and sleep quality soared. When the team measured biological age using DNA methylation markers, a cutting-edge way to determine how old your body truly is, they found that participants had turned back time by an average of 4 years. When asked how they felt, one woman smiled through tears. "Like my body remembered something it had forgotten," she said. "I feel like I got myself back." That's the magic of movement. It's not just about looking younger. It's about feeling like yourself again. About remembering the vitality, strength, and curiosity that adulthood sometimes dulls. Movement reminds the body how to be young, not in the artificial, cosmetic sense, but in the real cellular, soul-level sense. And it's not happening just in labs or research facilities. You can see it playing out in communities across the world. In Miami, every morning as the sun peeks over the ocean, a group of retirees gathers near the shoreline. They call themselves the Timeless Crew. Some are in their 60s, others pushing 80, but the energy they radiate feels 20-something. They jog along the sand, stretch to the sound of waves, laugh like kids, and move with purpose. They're not chasing youth, they're embodying it. Their secret isn't how long they move, but that they do it together, joyfully, consistently. They've built a ritual around vitality. One of the group's founders, a retired Navy officer named Raymond, puts it perfectly. We don't move to add years to our lives. We move to add life to our years. And you can see it in their faces, the glow, the posture, the spark that so many people lose long before their time. They've cracked a truth that modern life often buries. Youth isn't a number. It's a rhythm, a relationship with your body, a willingness to keep moving even when the world tells you to slow down. Science backs it up. But the proof is in the people. The runners greeting the sunrise in Boston, the lifters in Texas gyms, the HIIT enthusiasts in California parks, the yogis in Sedona studios, the Tai Chi masters in Tokyo gardens, and the walkers in the Italian hills. They're all part of the same quiet revolution. Together, they're rewriting what it means to age. So maybe time isn't undefeated after all. Maybe aging isn't a one-way street but a dance, a rhythm we can learn to follow, to bend, to play with. Maybe the secret isn't fighting age, but moving with it, through it, and beyond it. In the end, every step, every breath, every heartbeat is a vote for life. Movement isn't just medicine. It's memory. It's freedom. It's proof that the body, given the right rhythm, can remember how to be timeless. One morning, as the camera pans over the horizon painted gold by the rising sun, a member of the Timeless Crew named Rosa, age 74, smiles into the light. The wind tangles her silver hair as she finishes her stretch, her eyes glinting with that unmistakable spark of aliveness. "People think getting old means getting smaller," she says, voice soft but steady, "shrinking into your aches, your fears. But when I move, I feel bigger. I feel alive again." Her words linger in the air like music, hanging between science and soul. And maybe in that single sentence, she captures something that researchers have spent decades trying to explain. Because she's right. When the body moves, the mind follows. The chemistry of joy wakes up again. Movement triggers dopamine and serotonin, The same chemicals that flood the brain during moments of love, laughter, and awe. It's why a long run, a good yoga flow, or even a brisk walk can lift a person out of darkness. After a workout, people don't just feel physically lighter. They feel emotionally younger. The brain, flooded with oxygen and endorphins, starts to glow in ways that can't be faked or bottled. It's biochemical euphoria, the kind that makes your heart race not from fear, but from the reminder that you're still here, still strong, still capable, still alive. But there's something deeper happening beyond the biology, something science can't quite measure yet. Call it attitude or spirit, or mindset. It's the invisible force that shapes how we age. Researchers have noticed a striking pattern. People who engage in these rejuvenating forms of exercise tend to carry themselves differently. They laugh more. They stress less. They seek out new experiences instead of retreating into comfort zones. Exercise, in a way, becomes more than physical. It becomes philosophical. Each step forward becomes a declaration of curiosity, adaptability, and purpose, all the hallmarks of psychological youth. The body follows the mind's lead, and the mind thrives when the body moves. You see it in people like Rosa, in the way her laughter comes easy, in how she tries new dance classes at an age when most people are told to slow down. Movement for her isn't about burning calories or chasing numbers. It's about proving to herself. Every day, that age is just a number, not a cage. Even NASA scientists, studying the effects of muscle atrophy in astronauts, stumbled upon something profound. In zero gravity, where the body doesn't have to fight against weight or resistance, aging seems to fast forward. Muscles shrink, bones weaken, the heart struggles to pump efficiently. In short, when the body stops moving, it begins to die faster. But when astronauts reintroduce movement, even short bursts of exercise in space, the body rebuilds itself. Every push-up, every stretch, every beat of the heart sends a signal. Keep going. Stay alive. It's the same here on Earth. Our biology is wired for motion. The moment we stop, the decay begins. But the moment we move, even just a little, we start writing a new story for ourselves, a story of renewal, recovery, and resilience. Imagine, then, a society that truly understands that. Picture a world years from now where gyms don't look like torture chambers but like playgrounds for all ages, where laughter echoes off climbing walls and dance floors, where 60 feels like 40 and 80 feels like 50, not because of surgeries or supplements, but because people never stopped moving. Picture grandparents surfing beside their grandkids, 60-year-olds running marathons through city streets, and 80-year-olds practicing Tai Chi beneath cherry blossoms in the park. The line between youth and old age begins to blur until it disappears completely. What used to be too late becomes right on time. Aging stops being a slow fade and becomes a second act, a chapter written with strength and curiosity instead of decline and fear. And this isn't fantasy, it's already happening. Across the United States, longevity centers are emerging, prescribing movement as literal medicine. Doctors are writing exercise routines on prescription pads instead of handing out pills. Insurance companies, once focused purely on treatment, are now investing in prevention, funding gym memberships, yoga classes, and fitness apps for seniors. Not out of kindness or charity, but because the science is undeniable. Movement saves lives and money. A moving population is a healthier one. Fewer hospital visits, fewer surgeries, fewer chronic medications. The numbers don't lie, but beyond the data is something even more compelling. The sight of older adults rediscovering their vitality, laughing again, living again. These 6 science-backed exercises, endurance, resistance, HIIT, yoga, balance work, and walking, are more than movements. They're time machines, each one capable of turning back the biological clock when used consistently. The catch? They only work if you use them. They don't belong in theory, or in some future plan that starts next. Monday, they belong in the small, daily acts of motion, the walk to the store, the stretch before bed, the dance in the kitchen when your favorite song comes on. Because aging, as it turns out, isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. The body was never meant to be still for long. The more it moves, the more it remembers how to live. Somewhere right now, maybe in a quiet suburban neighborhood or a bustling city street, someone is lacing up their sneakers. The world is still half asleep, the air cool and soft, and that person takes their first step out the door. Maybe they're young. Maybe they're 70. Either way, they're doing something powerful, reclaiming their timeline. Each breath, each step, each heartbeat is a tiny rebellion against decay. As they move through the dawn, something inside them wakes up too. The science explains what's happening. Improved oxygen flow, increased dopamine, balanced hormones, but the feeling? The feeling is something science can't fully capture. It's freedom. It's vitality. It's the spark of existence reigniting. It's the realization that maybe, just maybe, youth isn't something we lose over time. It's something we can rebuild. Brick by brick, step by step, through movement, breath, and willpower. The human body was designed for renewal, but it needs a signal to start the process. Movement is that signal. It's how we remind our cells, our muscles, our hearts that they still have work to do. So if you're listening to this, if you've ever thought it's too late, too hard, too far gone, remember this simple truth. The clock only wins if you stop moving. Because every study, every heartbeat, every mile walked or run or danced or lifted proves the same thing over and over again. Movement doesn't just add years to your life, it brings life back to the years you already have. It turns aging from a sentence into a story, one where the ending keeps getting rewritten. Time may move forward, but when you move with it, when you choose motion over stillness, you stop being at its mercy. You become its partner, its co-author, and maybe that's the real secret humanity has been chasing all along. The secret not to live forever, but to live fully for as long as we're lucky enough to move.